The engine turns over at 5:47 in the morning. Same sound it made yesterday. Same sound it'll make tomorrow. The Civic doesn't care that you haven't slept well in 3 days. It just starts. You're 38. Your account has $89,000 in it. Derek had the same salary as you for 8 years. Derek owes $34,000. Same starting point, 15 years. That's the whole story, basically. Except it isn't, because living through it felt nothing like a story. It felt like eating the same lunch for a decade and wondering if you were doing something wrong. Here's what actually happened. Saturday, March. Used car lot off Route 9 in Charlotte. The salesman's name is Eddie. Light blue polo, collar already stretched out. You notice this because you're nervous and your brain is doing the thing where it catalogs irrelevant details instead of focusing. He shakes your hand twice in 30 seconds, walks you past the trucks, past a row of older Japanese cars, stops in front of a silver Honda Civic. 2009. 53,000 miles. There's a scratch running down the left door. Long as 2 fingers. Eddie says, "That's nothing, just surface paint." You know that's not true. You buy it anyway. Because you've been looking for 6 weeks, and you're tired, and it starts fine, and honestly the scratch kind of makes it feel more yours. $8,500 cash. 14 months of saving. You hand over the envelope, take the key, pull out with the windows down because the AC hasn't cooled yet. That night, in your $950 a month apartment, you open your laptop and type into the search bar, $10,000 in a savings account for 15 years, how much interest? You read the result, read it again, close the laptop, don't tell anyone. Not because it's a secret, just because you don't know what you'd even say. Hey, so I did math and I think I made the right call? Nobody wants to hear that at 23, Monday morning, office parking lot. Derek pulls up next to you, brand new red Kia Soul. Financing, $310 a month, 72 months. Derek looks good in it. Derek looks like someone who made a decision and feels fine about it. What Derek doesn't know, what nobody told Derek, is that the total he'll pay over 6 years is $22,320 for a car worth $16,000. The finance guy at the dealership called it low-cost ownership. The contract was 2 pages. Derek signed on page 2. Nobody asked about the interest rate. Nobody ever asks about the interest rate. Derek looks at your Civic, looks at you, smiles. Your car looks like a Uber. You smile back, don't answer. Brett walks past, glances at both cars, says to Derek more than to you, "This guy drives an old car, must be really saving up." Both of them laugh. You walk through the door first. Not because you have some perfect response lined up, because you don't, and standing there waiting to think of one would be worse. Salary, $38,000 a year, $3,100 a month take home. Rent, $950. Lunch at the office cafeteria most days. Nothing comfortable about it. But every month, first of the month, before anything else, $300 goes into a savings account. Not because you have a plan with a name, because you notice that if you don't move it first, it disappears in ways you can't explain later. $5 here, a convenience store run there, a thing you don't remember buying. $300. First of the month. That's it. The Civic starts again the next morning. Wednesday afternoon, office cafeteria. The fluorescent lights in there make everyone look like they haven't slept in 4 days. You might not have. You grab the $11 lunch special. Sit by the window. From here you can see the Civic baking in the 2 o'clock sun. 68,000 miles now. AC needed a recharge last month. $85 at a shop 2 blocks over, done in an hour. You were weirdly proud of this. You told no one. Derek sits down across from you. Derek got promoted to team lead, salary $52,000 now. And Derek just signed a new lease. Mazda 3. $420 a month. You do the math without meaning to. $4,300 take home. $420 out before he buys anything. That leaves $3,880, less than what you have left over each month. Derek does not do this math out loud. Maybe he does it privately and decides not to look directly at it. You know how that works. Brett pulls a chair over, sits sideways like always, starts talking about a road trip last weekend. Myrtle Beach, new car, windows down, seafood somewhere on the coast. Then he says, "Having a good car matters. Girls don't want to sit in something old." He's not saying it at you specifically. He's just saying it at the table. But your car is right there in the parking lot outside the window, and everyone at this table has eyes. You finish eating before anyone else, carry your tray to the rack, walk outside. The Civic is hot from sitting in the sun. You get in, don't start it yet. You take out your phone, open a browser tab you've opened before and always closed without doing anything. Car dealership website. Scroll past the sedans. Stop at a Mazda 3, silver. Same trim as Derek's, $420 a month. You sit there, longer than you should. Your savings account has $6,400 in it. The brokerage account you opened 3 months ago because you got bored and a little paranoid about inflation has $620. The numbers are real. The progress is real. But you're sitting in a car that Brett just described as something girls don't want to sit in a parking lot full of newer vehicles in the 2 o'clock heat, and the numbers feel very far away right now. You close the tab, start the engine, drive back to the office without the radio on. That evening, you get home and there's a notice slipped under your door. Building management, water heater maintenance next week. Residents on floors 3 to 5, no hot water for 2 days. Not a huge deal. But it lands on the same evening you almost replied to a bank notification that's been sitting in your inbox for a week. Pre-approved auto loan, up to $45,000. Promotional rate for the first 12 months. Something about the combination. Brett's comment at lunch, the hot parking lot, the notice under the door, stacks up in a way none of them individually would. You open the bank message. Start typing a reply asking for details. Stop. Delete it. Close the app. Open the savings account instead. $16,400. You stare at it for a moment, not with excitement, just to remind yourself it's there, then close it and go make dinner. 3 more loan offers arrived that year. You stopped opening them, not out of discipline or principle. Just, you'd seen where that line of thinking goes, and it went to a hot parking lot at 2 in the afternoon, feeling bad about a car that runs fine. The Civic starts again the next morning. Friday night, company dinner. A restaurant downtown that someone from management chose, which means it's the kind of place with valet parking, and you immediately wish you'd taken an Uber. Young guy in a black vest at the entrance. Clipboard. He watches you pull up in the Civic, looks at the clipboard, looks back at the Civic, like he's checking whether this is actually supposed to be here, doesn't say anything, takes the key with 2 fingers, points to a spot at the far end of the lot. Not the covered section where everyone else is going, the open section near the back wall. You park it yourself. Walk into the restaurant alone. This is fine. You're fine. Everything is fine. Inside, the table is already half full. Derek arrived in the Mazda. It's in the covered section. Derek is talking to someone from the regional office, animated, ordered before everyone got there. You sit at the end of the table. Brett is across from you. He leans over and says quietly, "Dude, did they make you park outside?" You say, "It's fine." Brett says, "That's messed up." You say, "It's fine." You pick up the menu. You order the second cheapest thing, not because you can't afford more, but because the number is still the number and it goes somewhere after dinner, whether anyone at this table knows it or not. You eat, you listen. Derek tells a story about the regional office guy that everyone laughs at. You laugh too. It's actually funny. The night is not bad, it's just that your car spent it outside near the back wall, and on the drive home alone afterward, that's the detail that sits with you. Not in an angry way, just sits there. That weekend. Saturday morning. Maya is at your place for the first time, 3 months in. She walks around your apartment slowly, the way people do when they're trying to get a read on someone through their stuff. Small place, desk with a laptop, a shelf with 3 books you've actually read. She doesn't comment on any of it, which you appreciate because you're already aware that 3 books and a laptop is not a flex. She stops at the desk, looks at the notebook sitting on it, doesn't open it. She says, "Do you ever spend money on yourself? Like, just because you want to?" You say, "I buy what I need." She turns around, looks at you directly. She says, "That's not what I asked." You don't answer right away. Not because the question is complicated, because nobody has asked it before and you're genuinely not sure what the honest answer is. You've been so focused on the mechanics, $300 first of the month, don't touch it. That you haven't thought about whether any of this is actually for you or just something you do now because you started doing it. She doesn't push, goes to the window, looks at the Civic in the lot below. She says, "I'm not saying the car is wrong, I'm asking if you're okay." You say, "I'm okay." She nods, but it's the kind of nod that means she filed the question away, not closed it. Later she leaves. You sit at the desk. Savings account, $9,100. You are okay. You're just not sure okay is the answer she was actually looking for. Sunday afternoon, gas station on the main road. A guy around 50 on the other side of the pump. He glances at the Civic the way someone recognizes an old friend's car. He says, "2009 Civic?" You say, "Yeah." He says, "My son drove one of these for 12 years. Bought his first house last year." His pump clicks off. He gets in his car, drives away. You stand there for a moment longer than necessary. He wasn't trying to tell you anything, he was just making conversation at a gas station. But you stand there anyway, holding the pump, doing the math on his son without meaning to. The Civic starts again the next morning. Saturday, June. A wedding an hour outside Charlotte. F-150, Tahoe, CX-5. A Camry parked at an angle near the entrance like the owner needed everyone to know it was a Camry. You pull the Civic into a spot near the back. 100,000 miles. The driver's seat has started sinking slightly on the left side, so you bought a cushion insert for $12 at Walmart. It works fine. You've stopped noticing it. You only remember it exists when someone else gets in the car and their face does a thing. Maya smooths her dress as you park. Gets out. You walk toward the venue together. She looks at the parking lot, takes it in. Then she looks at you and says, "Do you have any long-term plans? Like, what are you actually building toward?" She's been watching something for 8 months and hasn't been able to name it yet. This is her naming it. You say, "Yes." She says, "Tell me." So you tell her. Standing in a parking lot full of Tahoes and Camrys, you tell Maya the actual number in the savings account, the brokerage account. The $300 transferred every month before anything else gets spent. You tell her it started with a search on a laptop in a $950 a month apartment at 23 years old. You have never told anyone any of this. Not because it's a secret, more because nobody ever asked, and also because, hey, I've been quietly putting money away for 7 years is a weird thing to bring up unprompted at dinner. Maya listens to all of it, doesn't interrupt. When you finish, she's quiet for a moment. Then she nods once, slowly. She doesn't say good job. She doesn't say I knew it. She says, "Okay. But promise me something." You say, "What?" She says, "When this is done, whatever done means to you, you actually let yourself feel it. You don't just move the number higher and call that the point." You say, "Okay." She takes your hand. You walk in. Inside, Derek arrives 40 minutes late. You see the car first through the venue window. Gray Tesla Model Y. Matte wrap. Recent. The kind of car that costs more than 2 years of your combined savings contributions, and you know this because you did the math immediately and involuntarily, which is its own kind of exhausting. Derek finds your table. Hugs you. Derek looks good. The specific energy of someone whose life is working right now and who knows it. He mentions the new role almost immediately. Regional Business Development. Salary jumped to $74,000. Performance bonus last quarter, $18,000 on top of that. $92,000 in a single year. He says it the way people say things they've been waiting to say. You say, "That's great." You mean it. And right alongside meaning it, something else happens. Small, honest, uncomfortable. You look at Derek's jacket, the cut of it, the way it fits. You look at the Tesla through the window. You think about the foam cushion on the driver's seat of your car in the back row. For the first time in years, you wonder if Derek had a point. Not about the cars exactly, about something harder to name. Whether the thing you've been quietly building for 7 years is actually going somewhere, or whether it's just a story you've been telling yourself to feel okay about a choice that most people around you stopped respecting a long time ago. Derek's phone buzzes inside his jacket. He doesn't check it. Something tightens briefly around his eyes. Then he says, "Dude, you really need to upgrade. Just once. You'll feel different." You smile. You say, "Maybe." This time you almost mean that too. Later. The drive home, night. Highway mostly empty. Maya is quiet for the first 20 minutes. Not uncomfortable quiet, Just the kind that comes after an evening with too many people and too much noise. You know the difference by now. Then she says, $32,000. Repeating the number back to herself, out loud like she's checking that it's real. You say, yeah. She looks out the window, city lights coming up on the horizon. Then she says, I almost booked a flight to Nashville last month. Just for the weekend. Just for me. You say, why didn't you? She says, talked myself out of it, told myself it wasn't necessary. Pause. I think I've been doing that a lot lately. You drive for a while without answering. You know what she's saying. Not about the flight, about the pattern, about the way that when discipline lives in a shared life long enough, it stops being one person's habit and starts becoming the temperature everyone adjusts to without noticing. You say, book it. She looks at you. You say, seriously, book it. She takes out her phone, right there on the dark highway, $180 round trip. Nashville, 3 weeks from now. She puts her phone away, looks back out the window. She says, thank you. You drive the rest of the way without needing to fill the silence. Your apartment. 1 a.m. You open the notebook, add the number, $32,000. Then you sit there, $92,000 in a single year. You've been doing this for 7 years and your total is $32,000. Derek earned nearly that in bonuses alone. The math you've believed in for 7 years suddenly looks different from this angle. Not wrong, just smaller than you expected it to look by now. You open your phone, go to the car app you haven't touched in 2 years, scroll for a few minutes, close it. Sit in the dark. You think about Maya talking herself out of a $180 flight because she'd absorbed your defaults without either of you deciding that was going to happen. You think about yourself at 23 closing a laptop tab. You think about all the small things you both stopped reaching for and called it being smart. You don't touch the $300 transfer scheduled for the first of the month. But it's the first night in 7 years you thought about it. And it's the first night you weren't completely sure whether the thing you're building is actually for you or whether you've just gotten very good at building it. The Civic starts again the next morning. Tuesday, February, hospital parking lot in Charlotte, 2 a.m. The lot is half empty. Fluorescent lights on the ceiling make everything look the same pale yellow. A security guard sits in a plastic chair near the entrance barrier. He's asleep. The barrier is still up from the last car that came through. You're in the Civic. Engine off. 117,000 miles. The side mirror on the left has a crack running through the glass. You tape the edge so it wouldn't fall. It works well enough. You keep meaning to replace it. You haven't yet. Your mom was admitted 4 hours ago. Chest pains. The doctor said it wasn't a heart attack, said they needed to run more tests, said come back in the morning for results. You said you'd wait. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and recycled air. After 2 hours you came out to the car. Not because you needed to sleep. Because sitting in a room full of strangers being afraid felt worse than sitting alone in the dark. You recline the seat slightly, look at the ceiling of the car. There's a small stain near the interior light fitting that's been there since year 4. You never found out what caused it. At some point you stopped noticing it. Now you notice it again. Your phone is face up on the passenger seat. A notification at 2:17 in the morning. Not from the hospital, from your bank? Savings and brokerage combined $56,000. You look at the number for a moment, then you turn the phone face down. This is not the moment for that number. That number belongs to a different part of your life. Right now, you're a son sitting in a hospital parking lot at 2 a.m. waiting to find out if his mom is going to be okay. The $56,000 does not make that easier, but it means that whatever the doctor says tomorrow, whatever comes next, you won't have to choose between taking care of her and paying rent. You won't have to borrow. You won't have to call anyone and explain the situation and wait for them to decide if they can help. That's what the number is for. Not for impressing anyone, not for proving anything, just for this. For the moments where life stops being a plan and becomes an emergency, and you need the ground under your feet to hold. You look at the gas gauge, nearly empty. You think, fill up tomorrow morning on the way back in. Not because you're calm, because some things keep moving, whether you're calm or not. You and Maya have been married for 2 years. Maya is at home. You told her to stay. She didn't argue. She knows you well enough by now to know when you need to sit with something alone. She sent one message at midnight. Tell me when you know something. You haven't replied yet. There's nothing to tell yet. You think about the version of yourself at 23 sitting at the desk in the rented apartment, opening the laptop, typing a search into a bar. That person didn't know this night was coming, didn't know any of the nights were coming, just knew that the ground needed to be built before it was needed. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to stop looking at the parking lot. The results come back the next morning, not serious, a warning. The doctor says she needs to rest, watch her sodium, come back in a month for a follow-up. You sit with her in the room for 2 hours. She holds your hand. She asks about Maya. She asks about work. She doesn't ask about money. On the way out, you stop at the hospital pharmacy. The prescription the doctor ordered. You hand it over. The pharmacist looks it up, says the full course is $46 without insurance, $12 with. You have insurance. You pay the $12 without looking at the total. On the drive home, you think about the version of yourself at 23 who would have had to do math in the pharmacy line at the wrong time of the month. That version is not far away. He's just a different set of decisions. You don't feel proud about this. You just feel the distance between then and now and let it sit there without naming it. 3 weeks later, a phone call from Derek. Derek's voice is different from how it sounded at the wedding 2 years ago. The specific energy of someone whose life is working is gone. What replaced it is flatter, quieter, like a room after the furniture has been moved out. The regional business development role lasted 14 months. The company restructured, role eliminated. Derek's new position pays $58,000, down from $74,000. The Tesla lease is still $780 a month. The performance bonuses stopped with the old role. The math that worked at $74,000 does not work at $58,000. Derek says I might have to give the car back. You say okay. Derek says, I've been paying on cars for 9 years. If I hand this one back now, I get almost nothing. You do the math in your head. 9 years of consecutive financing and leases. Derek has put roughly $38,000 into cars. If he returns the Tesla now, the finance company settles the remaining balance and Derek walks away with maybe $4,000 to $5,000 after fees. Maybe less. $38,000. 9 years. $4,000 back. You don't say any of this to Derek. You say, whatever you decide, let me know if you need anything. Derek says thanks, hangs up. You sit on the couch. Maya comes out of the bedroom. She heard the end of the call. She doesn't ask who it was. She already knows from the way you're sitting. She goes to the kitchen, comes back with 2 glasses of water, sits down next to you, hands you one. She doesn't say anything for a while. Then she says, is he okay? You say, not really. She nods, drinks her water, looks at the wall. She says, I remember when he pulled up at the wedding, that car. You say, yeah. She says, I remember thinking, I hope that's not what winning looks like. You look at her. She shrugs, small, honest. It looked expensive and exhausting. You sit with that for a moment. Then Maya gets up, goes back to the bedroom, turns the light off. The apartment goes quiet. You sit in the dark for a while longer. You think about the night at 1 a.m. 2 years ago. The desk, the car app, the $92,000 year. The first night in 7 years you thought about touching the transfer. You didn't touch it. The doubt came. The doubt passed. The transfer ran on the first of the month the way it always had. And now, Derek is giving the car back. You don't feel vindicated. That's not what this feels like. It feels like watching someone you've known for a long time arrive at a place you could see from a long way away and being unable to explain how you saw it or what good the scene did either of you. You finish the water, put the glass down, go to bed. The Civic starts again the next morning. Friday, end of month. Office on the 4th floor. Same cubicle partition walls, same water cooler in the corner that makes a sound when it heats up. Same view of the parking garage from the window nearest your desk. You know which drawer sticks. You know which fluorescent tube flickers for 30 seconds before it decides to stay on. 143,000 miles on the Civic now. Last month, Lou told you the transmission fluid was overdue. Full flush. $180 at his shop. You did it the same week. The car shifts cleaner now. You notice it every morning when you pull out of the building garage. Salary $67,000 a year, promoted twice. Title is Senior Operations Coordinator. The title doesn't matter much. The salary matters. Not because of what it buys, because of what it adds to the account every month before anything else is spent. Savings and brokerage combined, $72,000. You check it on the last Sunday of the month. That's enough. Friday afternoon. Your phone rings. Number you don't recognize, you answer. Woman's voice. Polite, professional, wealth management consultant, priority client program, portfolio review session. Available to clients with balances above $50,000. You listen to all of it. Then you ask, which bank? She tells you the name. 6 years ago, this bank sent you auto loan offers every few months. Same institution that looked at your income history and your clean credit and decided the best thing to offer you was debt. Now they want to put you in a private room with coffee and a printed portfolio report. You didn't change. The number did. You tell her you'll think about it. She says she'll follow up. She does. That same evening, home, the kitchen. Maya is making dinner. You sit at the table with your laptop, half working, half watching her move around the small kitchen the way she has for 3 years now. She sets a bowl down in front of you without asking if you're hungry. Sits across from you. Picks up her fork. She says, there's a pottery class starting next month, Wednesday evenings, 8 weeks. You say, how much? She looks at you. Not angry, just the specific look she's developed over years of living with someone whose first question about anything optional is always how much. She says, $240 for the full course. You say that's reasonable. She says, I know it's reasonable. I've known it's reasonable for 2 weeks. I just kept not signing up. You put the laptop down. She says, I don't know when I started asking your permission for things I want. I don't think you ever asked me to. I just started doing it. The kitchen is quiet for a moment. You say, sign up. She says, I already did, this afternoon. You look at her. She says, I just wanted to tell you, not ask, tell. She goes back to eating. You go back to eating. The kitchen stays quiet, but it's a different kind of quiet than before. Something small moved, not between you and Maya, inside Maya, and you felt it from across the table. Later you sit at the desk, open the notebook, $72,000. You think about what she said, about not knowing when she started asking permission for things she wanted, about the way discipline in a shared life slowly becomes the air both people breathe without choosing to. You think about the Nashville flight 3 years ago, the $180 on the dark highway. You've been careful about money for so long that careful has become the default temperature of everything, including things that were never supposed to be about money at all. You close the notebook. Don't write anything new tonight. Monday morning, elevator lobby. Brett is waiting when you arrive. Different department now. You see him once a week in passing. Brett looks at the car keys in your hand. The Civic key worn smooth at the edges from years of daily use. Brett says, you still driving that Civic? You say, still. Brett says, thought you would have traded it in ages ago. You say, it still runs. The elevator arrives. You both get in. Brett presses 3. You press 4. Brett says, honestly, I don't know how you do it. I'd go crazy. You look at the floor display. 3. 4. You say you get used to it. Doors open on 3. Brett gets out, doors close. What you got used to was not the car. What you got used to was not needing the car to mean anything beyond what a car is supposed to mean. Transportation, reliability, something that starts in the morning and gets you where you need to go. The doors open on 4. You walk to your desk. That evening, the building parking lot. A kid is kicking a soccer ball near the entrance, maybe 7 years old. You've seen him most evenings for the past year. He sees you get out, stops kicking, points at the Civic. He says, Mister, is your car old? You say, yeah. He says, why don't you get a new one? You think for a second. You say, because this one still works. He considers this, nods the way kids nod when an answer makes sense even if it isn't exciting. Goes back to kicking the ball. You go upstairs. Maya isn't home yet. Wednesday, pottery class. You make dinner for one. Eat alone at the table. Wash up. Sit at the desk. The apartment is quiet in a way it used to be quiet before Maya. Not bad quiet, Just the particular quiet of a person alone with the decisions they made and the life those decisions built. You open the notebook, look at the number, $72,000. You think about what Maya said in the kitchen. About not knowing when she started asking permission. About telling instead of asking. You close the notebook. When Maya comes home at 9:30, her hands smell like clay. She shows you a small lopsided bowl she made. It is not even close to symmetrical. She's holding it like it's the most important thing she's made in years. Maybe it is. You put it on the shelf next to the 3 books you've actually read. The Civic starts again the next morning. Wednesday morning, Lou's shop, the narrow garage at the end of the block, 7:45, early enough that the street is still quiet. A tire shop 2 doors down has its shutter half open, the smell of engine oil and morning air. Lou is already inside, radio on low, a paper cup of coffee on the workbench. You pulled in 20 minutes ago. A sound from under the chassis on the way to work. Not a sound the Civic has made before. Low. Intermittent. The kind of sound that doesn't go away if you turn the radio up. 153,000 miles. Lou put it up on the lift. Spent 15 minutes underneath. Came back out wiping his hands on a rag that has been gray for as long as you've known him. He says stabilizer bar linkage. Both sides worn through. On a car this age, fixing it right costs more than the car is worth. I'm not going to tell you it's fine because it isn't. You nod. Lou sets the rag down. Picks up his coffee. Looks at the Civic on the lift. He says, "You want to think about it or you want me to look at what it cost?" You say, "Give me a minute." He nods. Goes back to something on the workbench. Gives you the minute without making it feel like a minute. You sit on the plastic chair outside the garage. The one that's been there every time you visited for 12 years. The plastic has faded from green to a color that has no name. The seat is slightly uneven on the left side. You've always sat on the right side without thinking about it. You take out your phone. Open the banking app. Savings and brokerage combined, 89,000. You look at the number the way you've looked at it every last Sunday of the month for several years. Without excitement, without needing it to be more than it is. It's the result of a $300 transfer on the first of every month starting at 23 years old. It's 15 years of the Civic starting every morning and getting you where you needed to go while the money that didn't go toward car payments went somewhere else instead. You close the app. You don't feel triumphant. You don't feel like you won something. You feel like a person sitting on a faded plastic chair outside a mechanic's shop on a Wednesday morning trying to decide whether to fix a 15-year-old car. Lou comes back out. Sits on the step with his coffee. He says, "How long have you had it?" You say, 15 years. Lou is quiet for a moment. He looks at the Civic on the lift. The silver paint dulled in patches. The scratch on the left door that was there the day you bought it from Eddie and never went away. The side mirror taped at the edge 4 years ago and never replaced. He says, "I've had customers drive cars for 20 years. Usually the ones who do, they're not doing it because they can't afford a new one." He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. You say, "What would you do?" Lou drinks his coffee. Sets the cup down carefully on the step. He says, "I'd let it go. Not because it can't be fixed, because 15 years is a complete thing. You don't need to push it past complete." You sit with that for a moment. The car did what you needed it to do. Every morning. In the rain, in the summer heat, in a hospital parking lot at 2 in the morning, on the highway back from a wedding where Derek showed up in a matte gray Tesla and you parked in the back row with a foam cushion on the driver's seat. The car did not care about any of that. It just ran. You stand up, go back inside. Tell Lou to bring it down off the lift. You pay for the inspection. Lou waves off the fee. You leave it on the workbench anyway. You sit in the Civic one last time. The seat that sinks slightly on the left. The stain near the interior light fitting from year 4. The steering wheel smooth in the same places your hands have always held it. The scratch on the left door visible in the side mirror. You don't take a photo. You don't say anything to the car. You don't sit there longer than you need to. You start the engine. It turns over the way it always has. No hesitation, no complaint. Same sound it made, pulling out of a used car lot off Route 9 15 years ago with the windows down because the AC hadn't cooled yet. You sit for 1 minute, not thinking about the $89,000, not thinking about Derek, not thinking about Brett or the cafeteria or the valet or the wedding parking lot or the hospital at 2 in the morning. Just sitting in a car you've driven for 15 years on a Wednesday morning while the city outside gets on with its day. Then you put it in gear. Drive out. You don't look in the rearview mirror. That afternoon you walk to a used car lot 10 minutes from your building. Not the one where you bought the Civic, a different one, cleaner. A salesman approaches, young, eager, starts walking you toward the newer models at the front. You stop at a silver Honda Civic. 2019, 30,000 miles, $14,800. The salesman says, great choice, super reliable, we also have financing options, very competitive rates. You say, cash. The salesman stops, recalibrates, nods, you pay, you drive it home. The AC works perfectly, the seat doesn't sink, the doors close on the first pull. The radio connects to your phone without asking. It's a good car. It'll do what a car is supposed to do. Nothing more, nothing less. That evening Derek texts, hey, can we talk? I'm in a bad spot. You read it. You already know the broad shape of what bad spot means. Derek returned the Tesla 7 months ago, has been using Uber since. The credit card balances from years of filling gaps between income and car payments have not gone away. 3 cards, minimum payments every month. The balance is barely moving because the interest is eating most of each payment. You text back, come over. Derek arrives at 9, sits on your couch. He's 31 years old. He looks older than that tonight. Not dramatically, just in the way certain kinds of exhaustion show up in the face after long enough. Maya makes tea without being asked, sets it on the table between you and Derek, squeezes your shoulder once on the way back to the bedroom, closes the door quietly. Derek watches her go, says nothing for a moment. Then he tells you the numbers. 3 credit cards, total balance $21,800, average interest rate 24.6%. Minimum payments for 2 years without the balance moving because the interest is consuming most of each payment. A personal loan taken last year to consolidate that he spent instead. A watch bought when he got the team lead promotion. $1,900 on a card he hasn't paid off. He says, how did you do it? Be honest. You think about the plastic chair outside Lou's shop this morning, the Civic on the lift. 15 years is a complete thing. You think about the notebook. First entry at $300, automatic, first of the month. You think about the night at 1 in the morning with the car app open, the doubt that came, the transfer that ran anyway. You say, I kept the first car. Derek looks at you. You say, that's it? I kept the first car and put the difference somewhere it could grow. Every month, for 15 years. Nothing complicated. Derek is quiet for a long time. He looks at his hands, then he says something you didn't expect. He says, I spent 9 years trying not to feel behind. The room is very quiet. He says, every car was supposed to fix it. The feeling. Like once I had the right car, the right title, the right number on my salary, then I'd finally feel like I caught up, like I was actually doing okay. He stops, picks up the tea, puts it down without drinking. I don't even know who I was trying to catch up to. You don't say anything. There's nothing to say that would improve on the silence. After a while, you make him coffee. Sit across from him for another hour. Help him list the debts in order of interest rate. Help him find the number he needs to clear the highest rate card first. You don't give him money tonight. Tonight is for him to see the shape of it clearly for the first time. He leaves at 11. You lock the door. Maya appears from the bedroom doorway. She heard most of it. You can tell from her face. She says, is he going to be okay? You say, I think so, it'll take time. She nods, comes over, stands next to you in the kitchen for a moment. She says, that thing he said about trying not to feel behind. You say, yeah. She says, I think a lot of people feel that. They just don't say it out loud until they have no choice. You stand in the kitchen together for a while, not talking, not needing to. The new Civic key is on the counter next to the old one. You haven't dropped off the old car yet. Lou is going to sell it for parts. 2 keys. Same model. 15 years apart. You pick up the old key. Turn it over in your hand once. Put it in the drawer. The following Sunday, you drive Derek home in the new Civic. He's quiet most of the way. The quiet of someone running numbers in his head and not liking what he finds, but no longer looking away from them. You park outside his building, he gets out, leans on the door for a moment. He says, "I keep thinking about all the money I put into cars." You say, "Don't think about that." He says, "How do I not think about it?" You say, "Think about the next 15 years instead." He nods, not because he feels better, because it's the only direction that's still open. He goes inside. You drive home alone. The new Civic quiet on the highway. AC cold, radio low. The city lights on either side of the road, the same city lights that have always been there. You park in your spot in the building garage. Turn off the engine. You sit for a moment. Then, without thinking about it, you reach out and run your hand along the left side of the dashboard. Toward the door. Your fingers move to where the door meets the frame. Where the scratch used to be on the old car. The one that was there the day you bought it from Eddie in the stretched-out polo shirt and never went away in 15 years. Your fingers find smooth paint. Nothing there. You sit with your hand on the door for a moment longer than makes sense. Then you get out. Lock the car. Go upstairs. Maya is on the couch with the book. The small lopsided ceramic bowl is on the shelf where you put it 3 weeks ago. Still there. Still slightly crooked. She looks up when you come in. She says, "How is he?" You say, "Starting." She nods. Goes back to her book. You sit down next to her. Don't open anything. Don't check the account. Don't open the notebook. Just sit. The apartment is quiet. The kind of quiet that took 15 years to build. Not the quiet of someone alone with their decisions. The quiet of two people who figured out, slowly and imperfectly, how to build something together without either of them losing what they were. You sit there for a while. Then Maya turns a page. And the evening continues the way evenings do, when nothing is wrong and nothing needs to be said, and the ground under your feet is exactly where you left it. The new Civic will start again tomorrow morning. Somewhere in Charlotte right now, a used car lot is still open. A salesman in a polo shirt is walking a young guy through the lot. Past the trucks, past the older Japanese models. The guy is 23. First real job. 8 months of saving. He's been looking at cars for 2 weekends now. The salesman stops at a newer model, talks about the financing options, monthly payments, low entry cost, promotional rate for the first year. The young guy is listening. He's doing math in his head, but it's not quite the right math yet. He's calculating whether he can afford the monthly payment. He's not calculating what that monthly payment costs him over 15 years if it goes somewhere else instead. He hasn't made the decision yet. He's standing in the lot under the fluorescent lights with his hands in his pockets and a number in his head and a version of his life on either side of a choice he doesn't fully understand yet. The salesman is still talking. The young guy is still listening. Somewhere across the city, an engine turns over at 5:47 in the morning. It doesn't know any of this. It just runs.